Okay, so chapter 9, we're going to be looking at what we call the staff world as far as the prison goes. The one thing I want you to keep in mind as we go through this is that these staff members are locked up with the inmates 24 hours a day, just like the inmates are. Basically, the staff members themselves are in prison, which really affects how they go about doing their job. So we're going to look at a couple of things here that have to do with staffing of prisons. The Department of Corrections in the state of North Carolina is always hiring. It is difficult to find people who want to go into this job because it's not seen as glamorous, but these are individuals that are in high demand and we need them. So I want to look at a couple of things here. First of all, the hierarchy of the Department of Corrections. Just like with every other criminal justice agency, these is a militaristic hierarchy. You have sergeants, lieutenants, captains, that militaristic rank that is actually in there. With this, I want to talk about the basic training that these go through, and we do call it basic training. In the state of North Carolina, new correctional officers get 160 hours of training to be a correctional officer. That's not a lot. To put that in perspective, to be a cosmetologist in this state, you have to have 1,500 hours of training. In North Carolina, we do not require any on-the-job training. And so these folks go through roughly 4 weeks of training, then they're turned out into the institutions. One of the arguments that's made as to why we don't give more training is because there is a high turnover rate. I have a friend of mine who actually oversees the training for Department of Corrections, and he made the comment to me, why should the state spend money on individuals who aren't going to be there that long? So a lot of the training that's done for rookies in the correctional setting is actually done on the job. They get a basic training and then they're turned out right into the job field itself. The only educational requirements that are in place is that they have to have a high school diploma or GED. So we have very minimal requirements, and really we're not well preparing these individuals to go into the workforce and to be able to deal with the things that they have to deal with. So when we start looking at the characteristics, and your book actually has a couple of charts on this, you can see that the characteristics of the staff world really are different than the characteristics of the inmate world when it comes to race. If you look in your text, about 73% of the staff members are male, but a high percentage are female comparatively. About 27% of staff members are females, but when we look at the racial aspect of it, 63% of the staff members are white and only 21% are black. And we'll talk a little bit later in another chapter about how this can cause some conflict between the inmates and the staff members. This is a very dangerous job, as you can imagine. Imagine this. You're locked into a 1,000 bed maximum security facility. 1,000 men that are in there. You might have only 200 staff members on duty at any one time. So the way that they police these guys is a lot different than the way we do on the outside. As a matter of fact, your book talks about power and the power that correctional officers use. Coercive power is one of the most reasonable methods of maintaining institutional control. If officers go up there and they try to manhandle inmates, the officers are outnumbered and the officers can be seriously hurt. So their best method of getting compliance in the institution is to use coercion. We're going to institute some type of punishment if you don't do what we say. The other thing is having outlets for inmates. A lot of people think that having weight rooms and recreational facilities for inmates is a bad thing. Officers love it, and the reason is this: if we don't give inmates a method to let their frustration out, to exert their physical activity, all that's going to happen is that is going to bottle itself up, and we're going to have more issues, more violent issues with inmates in the institutions. So officers have to use their verbal skills, their professional skills in order to deal with these inmates, but use force when necessary. This is a very dangerous job. When you start looking at it, it's very much the same in a lot of cases with these dangers as law enforcement. There's high stress levels. Being locked in these institutions with these inmates can be very stressful. Safety issues, not only physical safety, but think about the possibility of them getting AIDS, them getting other communicable diseases, all of these things that play into this. Those are just a couple of things we're going to look at in this chapter. If you have any questions, please post them on the Q&A forum or email me.